Hello everybody, welcome to the final round of Esports WTCR. What an incredible season it has been so far. And this time we're in the virtual world of Sepang. As a result, the overall standings, the points were affected. Let's have a look. Jan Erlashe is still the one to beat, 157 points. He's ahead of Norby, who's in second position on 148. And on 140 points in third is Mikel Ascona. Now, mathematically, the top 7 still have a chance to be crowned the king of Esports WTCR. So we are just moments away from race 1, where there are going to be some very pivotal points to be gained. Someone is almost going to be crowned the king of Esports WTCR. Let's have a look at the starting grid.
Honda's Esteban Guerrieri claims his second DHL pole position of the season, but critically, Jan Erlashe starts alongside him. Nesta Girolami and Attila Tashi means the Hondas could gang up on the Lynk & Co. Mikel Ascona 5th ahead of Niels Langeveld. Mato Homela and Ben Spoldic, Norbert Mikelic and Aurelian Comte round out our top 10. Kevin Chacon, Thiago Montero, Ted Björk and Andy Prio, with Tom Coronel 15th on the grid. On pole position on the left-hand side of your screen is Esteban Guerrieri. On the right-hand side is our points leader, Jan Erlashe, in the blue Lynk & Co. 12 minutes of racing, and the deal is this. If Erlashe wins this, Norby Mikelic must go from 9th to 4th to keep the series alive. But if Guerrieri, who's taken the lead, wins it, we automatically go to the final race to decide the title. Esteban Guerrieri leads. There are 3 Munich Motorsport Hondas surrounding Erlashe. Erlashe drifts out wide. Through goes Nesta Girolami into second. Tashi will get in there as well. So too Mato Homela in the number 70 car. Homela gets pushed wide by Mr. 6th place Niels Langeveld. On the grass too is Mikel Ascona. Oh, that sounds familiar. That sounds like the final race of last year's WTCR here in Sepang. But at the moment it is warm, it is dry, and Esteban Guerrieri has his teammate as rear gunner. Tassi, car number 9, inside Erlashe, and Erlashe in danger of getting a thorough working over from the whole field. He's got to try and keep himself in 3rd place. James, this is going to be a really tough race for Jan Erlashe. Tashi trying to attack Erlashe there, but Girolami held on for 2nd place. Oh, in trouble behind. Aurelian Comte is off. There was contact there. We just saw Mikel Ascona in the gold and blue Cupra. He's in 5th position, chasing Attila Tashi. Jan Erlashe in 3rd place, and Erlashe has weathered this early storm. But out front, Esteban Guerrieri. The deal with Guerrieri is he comes in here 25 points behind. If he wins this, it'll be win number 2 of the season. He'll then be tied on wins, but there's more trouble. Ben Spoldic is off. And was that Andy Prio? No, it wasn't. It was Ted Björk, number 11, off. So all sorts of argy-bargy behind Thiago Montero. Andy Prio's moved up ahead of the Alpha of Kevin Chacon. And Spoldic in the Zengo Motorsport green and grey. Chacon on the curbs. And Ted Björk, you're seeing it in the inside shot. Trying to catch that group. But as they come across the line, 2.5 minutes elapsed. And it is Guerrieri and Girolami. So we'll get 6 laps of this race just about. Oh, Ascona down the inside of Tashi, and Ascona looked like again his steering was an issue in Macau. Looks like he might have just had a little freeze there as he sort of straight lined the corner, went straight by Tashi. Tashi got the place back. Ascona with the gold nose. Behind him, the Audi of Niels Langeveld. Behind him, Mato Homela. And behind Mato Homela, car number 1, Norbert Mikelic. Homela up the inside, goes outside the Audi. And Norby goes by him. So Norby gets 1 spot ahead of Mato Homela. But he needs to work his way further up the order. Mikelic, 0 points in race 1 in Macau. won race 2, but he didn't make Super Pole here. He was only 9th in qualifying. That does mean he could start race 2 from the front row. It might all yet go Norby's way in the season finale, the last race of the season, just as it did in Sepang last autumn. Little look down the inside from the Lincoln Co. But Ben Spalding has the door closed, and that's because he's trying to get by Thiago Monteiro. Ted Björk, though, working his way over the curbs to go by Baldich. Now he's... Oh, inside Thiago! There's contact there. See Thiago sliding and laughing. He knows who that was behind him. Tell you what, there's going to be an awful lot of drivers owe each other a lot of beers after contact in this 6 championship race series, or 12 races, 6 weekends. Björk and Thiago Monteiro battling hard for every centimetre of tarmac here. Out front, it is still the Honda 1-2. The two Argentines, Guerrieri and Girolami, and I don't think that Girolami will be looking to make a pass here. He did what he needed to do, got right behind Esteban. Lots of action, it's too wide behind. Ben Spalding on the outside, again, losing ground to Kevin Chacon and Aurelien Comte trying to come by in a Peugeot as well. Streaming down the straight behind Ted Björk. Just shuffled his way to the front of that pack. Andy Priaulx behind them wants to do the same. 3 wide, oh, that'll work. Ted Björk gets a little nudge there. Kevin Chacon in the thick of the action, following the Honda through. That's Thiago. He went by Ted Björk. Now Kevin Chacon in the Alpha does as well. There's no quarter given or asked in this midfield battle. Fantastic stuff. Top left, you can see Esteban Guerrieri, the race leader, looking very cool, calm and collected. And hasn't got quite as much on his plate as fellow Honda driver Thiago Monteiro has. Monteiro now back to the front of this pack. There's Aurelien Comte right in front of us as we ride with Ben Spalding. Andy Priaulx in his mirrors. Priaulx getting out wide. Losing a little bit of ground there. Behind him, Tom Coronel, the other come-to-you Audi. Change a little further up. Attila Tashi and Nils Langeveld battling, and Tashi has got by Mikel Ascona, and that could be very important. Ascona third in the points coming in here, 20 behind. LHA in third position, behind the two Hondas. Looking inset at Kevin Chacon and his view. Chacon chasing Thiago, in turn being chased by Aurelien Comte. Ted Björk looking up the inside. You saw the bump there. Björk just helping Aurelien Comte find a wider line. And putting the big blue Lincoln Co. right alongside. Didn't get the drive off the corner he wanted though, Ted. Under the shadows of the grandstands, they come up to turn 15. Big, wide open hairpin. Pick a line, any line. Cars throwing themselves into it. Kevin Chacon out braking himself, and 2 go by, 3 goes by, because Priaulx's right there as well. Chacon in far too deep under braking. Björk shaking his head, he's getting hung out to dry in the straight. Aurelien Comte and Ben Spalding both drafted by him. Although this big wide open circuit might suit the suspension of the Lincoln Co. The high speed, and it's a big wide front profile aren't helping, and contact between the two Lincoln Co cars. Priaulx getting into the side of Ted Björk. Oops. While Björk taking it in the right spirit. Yes, they're competitive, but no, they realise, these world champions, that this is not so much their forte as the real world is. Looking back, that's Mikel Ascona. So we are looking back from Attila Tashi. Tashi has got ahead of Ascona. Their own private battle of the new boys, trying to finish higher up the order. Ascona third in points, Tashi sixth in points, starting this race. Anto Homler got ahead of him. There, Tashi and Ascona with Nils Langeveld right behind. There can't be many races and qualifying sessions in which Nils wasn't sixth. There's been Mr. Consistency, if that's a thing. Elishay and Ascona, or Elishay in third, Ascona and Tashi fourth and fifth. Langeveld now inside Ascona, using the unconventional lawnmower line up the inside. Oh, and a huge moment for Matto Homola. Looked like there was contact there. I'm sure that was Homola and not Norbert Mikulits. Here comes pressure from the Audi driver. I'm on the inside. I'm on the inside. I'm on the inside. Ascona doesn't care. He hangs on the outside. I don't think that worked quite as well for him as he'd been hoping for. And trouble for Norbert Mikulits. He's a long way off. And that surely is the end of his title battle. And was it contact? Inside Atten and Tashi, the two Hungarians. The irony there, Tashi now in a Honda, but was given his break in Norby's team. And Mikulits is back on, but he's behind Thiago Monteiro, Bench Boldic, and Aurélien Comte. So Norbert Mikulits down at the tail end of the top 10, and that's a disaster. Kevin Chicon getting mugged by Andy Prio and Ted Björk. They both go by him. Well, the virtual season finale is not going to work for Norbert Mikulits the way the 2019 season finale did. Will it fare better for the man above him on that left-hand pylon, Esteban Guerrieri? Guerrieri got very close indeed last year, ending up a fraction behind Norby in the final points count, but leading this race, he keeps his challenge alive. He needs Ascona and Langeveld and the others to get to Erlaché. The Frenchman has got his nose out, clear of that squabbling pack in third place. He's not going to catch the two Hondas in front, nor does he probably need to. And Erlaché in third place. It's critical now, though, that he gets these points in the bank. 25 points will go to Esteban Guerrieri if nothing changes. 20 points to his teammate Nestor Girolami, and 16 at the moment heading towards Yann Erlaché. That means that Yann will drop just 9 points to Esteban, who started 25 behind. Yann Erlaché will have a 16-point advantage. Guerrieri doing everything he can. Girolami doing his best to help him out as well. But Nestor just showing his nose. There is no way he's going to try and win this race, surely. These two drivers, far too close and far too canny for that. The key here, though, is can anybody get to Erlaché and take even a couple of points away from him. 16 points for third for Yann Erlaché, only 13 for fourth, but I don't think Ascona is fast enough or close enough. We're into the final minute on the timer. And Nestor Girolami just making sure Esteban Guerrieri remains in front of him, even as he was looking for a little bit of clear air. Try and keep the temperatures down in the car. Doesn't want to risk anything to avoid this Munich Motorsport 1-2. Allinkle.com drivers. It's a great pairing last year, so they're proving again. A little further back, Ascona just ahead of Langeveld, Homola and Tashi. Ascona not able to break free of this lot and catch Erlaché. He'll end up with fourth. Langeveld battling Homola and Tashi for fifth. Tashi on the inside. Tashi and Homola seem to have spent as much time in each other's company on track this virtual season as any other two drivers. Esteban Guerrieri in the top of your shot, below him Nestor Girolami. Nestor struggling with understeer, really struggling with understeer there. Esteban Guerrieri heading towards the line, and 25 vital points to keep the championship alive. And Nesta Girolami's baby daughter Isabella is crying. You can hear her clearly on his intercom, but he is focused on second place. Third place with Jan Erlache closing all the way. Another 5 minutes, that could have been a very different race. Fourth for Mikel Ascona, fifth for Niels Langeveld, and sixth position for Matto Homela, just ahead of Attila Tashi. Eighth in the end, up just 1 point from the grid spot of ninth for Norbert Mikelic. And now we have to do the maths and find out who's still in the hunt for the title.
Whoo-wee, Esteban Guerrieri, you needed that. You were 130 points before this race. You are now just 16 points behind Jan Erlache. This feels a little bit like last year.
Yeah, well, but in the virtual world. But yeah, it was a good race, good victory with Nestor. Very good pace, both of us. So yeah, very good for Honda, for Olinkel, and for all the team, which there is no mechanics here, but they're at home probably watching. So yeah, it was a nice 1-2 for us.
The battle is now between 4 drivers. It might be over for poor old Norby Michelitz, but Jan Erlache will be trying very hard to raise that trophy after race 2, which will start after this break. Hello everybody, welcome back to what is fast turning into a very tense final weekend here at Sepang International Circuit. Breaking news before the break, we found out from Race Direction that poor Mikel Ascona has in fact been awarded a 5-point penalty for race 1, which means that he is now out of contention for the title. Jan Erlache is top of the leaderboard, 17 points ahead of Esteban Guerrieri, who is just ahead of Norby Michelitz. Those are the 3 to watch, everything to play for. What makes it more confusing is that it's a reverse grid. Everything can happen.
It's a third race 2 pole position start for Peugeot's Aurélien Comte with Norbert Mikelic alongside him. Bench Boldich and Matto Homela start on row 2, Niels Langeveld and Jan Erlache on row 3. Esteban Guerrieri and Mikel Ascona are behind them, with Nesta Girolami and Attila Tashi rounding out the top 10. Ahead of Kevin Chacon in the Alfa, Thiago Montero's Honda, Ted Björk in the Cyan Racing Lincoln Co with teammate Andy Priaulx alongside, and Tom Coronel in 15th. Cars are on the grid here in Sepang in Malaysia for the very final time in this Esports WTCR pre-season championship. And the championship is on the line. Our top 3 contenders, Jan Erlache, Esteban Guerrieri, the top 2, Norbert Mikelic in third on the bottom left. And on the right-hand side is our pole sitter, Aurélien Comte, for the 3rd time on the reverse pole. The lights are off, we go green. 12 minutes of wheel-to-wheel racing, and the advantage in points with Jan Erlache. On the track though with Norbert Mikelic. He started second row of the grid, second place on the grid rather, and he's in second place. And Jan Erlache making contact already in the midfield, is getting shuffled back down the order. Jan Erlache and Esteban Guerrieri started 9th and 10th on this final grid, and so the chance now, and this is reflecting what happened potentially last year in the final race in Sepang as evening shadows lengthen, is that Norby Mikelic could pull this off in the very final race. Fellow Hungarian Bench Boldich right behind him, Aurélien Comte down to 3rd already. Norby leads, and now it's up to the others to try and work their way up the order. James Kirk.
Delighted to be here for the final race, Martin. Okay start for Jan Erlache. P11 is the position which he absolutely needs to guarantee himself the title against Norby. It's P7 if Guerrieri wins. Those are the major connotations going forward.
And Erlache just at the bottom of the top 10 at the moment. Mikel Ascona with the bronze nose on his Cupra. That 5-point penalty means that he is now out of the title race as Ben Spalding runs out very wide. That's the third 5-point penalty, by the way, for Ascona. Those 15 points, had he not lost them, would have seen him start this race in second in the points, even closer than Esteban Guerrieri is to that man at the top of your screen, Jan Erlaché. If he hadn't had the driving penalties, then Ascona would have started just 14 points behind Erlaché with a chance of the title. As it is, as ever, Ascona is in the thick of the pack racing with his sleeves rolled up. Up to second place now has come Mato Homola, and that is really key for Norbert Mikelitz because Homola is his Hyundai teammate. Aurélien Comte gets by Homola on the inside at the hairpin, but Mato, top right-hand side of your screen, clearly trying to work hard for his teammate. We're looking at the tail of Tom Coronel's car. Who's that from? I think that's from Andy Prio's viewpoint. There's Homola. 86 behind him is Esteban Guerrieri. Norby and Esteban both effectively must win this race if they want to be champion. Second or third is nice, but no cigar. And Guerrieri goes through, outbreaks himself on the exit though, surely. Yes, there he is. He's gone up one and down two in that corner. Got ahead of Homola. Now he's behind Homola and also behind Aurélien Comte, and Erlaché making little progress, but at the moment it's up to his rivals to overhaul him.
Fine margins, Martin. You can understand why Gary went for that move. We've already explained it. Homola is the teammate. He's going to want his best friend in Norby to head on up the road, give himself the best chance of winning this championship. Guerrieri perhaps needed a little more patience, but as I say, I understand why you've written another chance potentially coming up in the third sector.
If Norby wins this, here's the maths as far as my arithmetic goes. Jan Erlaché needs 11th or better to be champion. 12th, they're tied on points, and then we go beyond podium finishes down into the lower reaches of the top 10 to decide who wins what, or possibly driver penalties, of which Norby has none and Jan has two, might come into consideration. Not sure if that rule was written or not, but if Esteban wants to win the title and Norby wins it, Esteban must be second, no matter what Jan Erlaché does. So it's really cut and dried. For Esteban, frankly, nothing other than victory will do. Andy Prio, who with Ten Bjerk has had his sleeves rolled up in the last couple of races, they're battling with Tom Coronel and with 65 there in the centre, the alpha of Kevin Chekon. He's had a driver warning, so he drops back a fraction. Erlaché, Mikelitz and Guerrieri. Whoa! And there's Erlaché trying to go inside Ben Spalding. Locked up under braking, backed it into the corner. Survives that one though.
Oh. Heart in mouth. Thankfully, these are front-wheel drives, of course, just flat on the power, and you should be fine. But even still, you don't want to be sideways going through any corner with the championship on the line.
Girolami has jumped up 2 spots. He just got in behind Aurélien Comte and Mikel Ascona, and I think perhaps he had a little bit of that Erlaché late braking and used Comte as a pinball to bounce Ascona out of the way. He dived in under both of them. So Girolami not taking points away at the moment from Jan Erlaché. He was ahead of him anyway, so it's just a shuffling of the order, but he is now up to 4th position. Maybe he'll have a chance to help Esteban Guerrieri with a tow. The problem for Guerrieri, though, is still going to be the car that's in second place. As we look back from Norbert Mikelitz, the shadows are getting longer and longer, and so is his lead. Mato Homola doing a great defensive job in second place. There is the Slovak driver on the bottom of your picture, holding off Guerrieri. Guerrieri goes deep. It's the championship finale. You've got to allow them to race. He went in deep. Homola didn't have the door firmly enough shut. And the big bad wolf came a-calling, and through Guerrieri went, up into second place. Now, half the race has elapsed almost exactly, 6 of 12 minutes. Guerrieri is now potentially free to try and chase down Norbert Mikelitz. Guerrieri needs to win win this. Elashay in 10th though, right now, is champion no matter what Mikulits does. If Guerrieri gets to second, then Jan will be still, I think, the champion where he is. However, he needs to get to grips with Attila Tashi and Nils Langeveld and Aurélien Comte. And I think the soft underbelly there will be Aurélien Comte on the back of his queue. There they go, and there is 68 Jan Elashay. It could all fall his way if these guys make contact, and gee, what are the odds of that, James Kirk? Then he goes through on the inside as Langeveld eases Comte wide, and then there's contact, and there's contact again, and Elashay with a yellow card can't afford another 5-point penalty. That could end up costing the title.
You are completely correct, Martin, in what you say. More likely than not, contact is going to happen in the midfield, but you can't be doing this. I know how much pressure there must be on Jan to keep himself clean, to make his way through, to guarantee that championship, but that is something that the stewards will surely look at. I think...
Yeah, I think you're right. I think the initial move on Comte was fair enough racing move, but where he dived to the inside and clattered into the Audi's door, I mean, he has actually backed off a little and allowed Langeveld to hold on to that spot, so he's trying to mitigate the damage there. We'll wait and see what the stewards think, and they will try and make their decisions very quickly. Behind him, Comte getting on terms with Boldich, or Boldich on Comte, as Norbert Mikulits continues to lead. But look, the gap has halved. Esteban Guerrieri has jumped away from Matto Homola, who leads the peloton, and Guerrieri trying to catch the breakaway leader, Norbert Mikulits. 2.5 minutes remain, a lap and a half of the circuit maybe. Norby still in front, but Esteban, the faster of the two, trying to close him down. Could it be a final corner lunge for the title, or is it still in Elashay's pocket? I'm too excited to even think about maths at this stage.
Time is a savage mistress, Martin. Esteban has good recent form at this circuit. In the virtual world, he won the final race of the hashtag Beat the Pros challenge, going up against the very best of the sim racing world. Right here, race 2, Malaysia, the only pro to win.
Well, as of now, James, among these pros, Jan Elashay will be champion if nothing else changes. Norbert Mikulits and Esteban Guerrieri will be the other top three finishers in the title race, and Norby will end up with victory here should nothing change, but it won't be quite enough. It'll be his third win of this Esports WTCR season, but there will not be enough points. Too many zeros are always the torpedoes below the waterline, and Norby has had a couple. Jan Elashay with the title in his pocket at the moment, barring incident, accident and or penalties from the above. So Norby now doing everything he can, but when you come to the final weekend with a big points deficit, then it is a real uphill struggle. Jan Elashay still on the back of his queue. And there, looking back, you can see two more Hondas in formation. Nestor Girolami ahead of Attila Tashi. So Elashay, if he needed to get by, would have a really tough time. As it is, he can happily follow Nils Langeveld around and still be the eSport WTCR champion at the end of this race. Let's get into the final minute of the race, the final minute of the season. This will be the last lap, and Matto Homola into the back of Attila Tashi. Homola slow off the corner then. Through comes Nils Langeveld, and that may open up the door for Jan Elashay. There's Langerveld. We're looking back from Tashi's Honda. You can see Mato Homolo behind, and in the slipstream, tucked up almost invisibly, is the blue Lincoln Co. Out wide. Oh, and now a chance perhaps to cut back under for Jan Erlaché. He picks up one more spot. That's even more confident of winning the title. Out of turn 2, door handle to door handle with Attila Tashi. He's got by Mato Homolo. So it's Mikulec, Guerrieri and Ascona the podium at the moment. Girolami, Langerveld, and then Tashi and Erlaché. So Erlaché in 8th place, and that's enough even if Esteban Guerrieri finishes in 2nd and Norbert Mikulec wins this. Erlaché is still having to fight hard for every centimetre of tarmac. The final lap of the race, the final lap of the weekend, the final lap of the season. They are going to be covered by just a tiny handful of points. Norbert Mikulec doing all that he can by leading. Esteban Guerrieri doing all that he can by chasing. From row 5 of the grid, he's come up to 2nd position. And yeah, Jan Erlaché doing all he needs to do, making sure he finishes this last lap of the race where he is, and he will take the points that he needs for the title. The only slight question mark might remain over that contact with Niels Langerveld. Be a very harsh way to decide the title. The sun is setting on the title hopes of Esteban Guerrieri and Norbert Mikulec. They run 1-2 here, Norby just ahead. And as they drop out of the shadows and into the sunshine, Norbert Mikulec with Esteban Guerrieri right behind him takes his 3rd win of this eSports series. The world champion who started off as a gamer wins again, but it is Jan Erlaché who crosses the line just outside the top half dozen. Job done. 7th position, and he has the title. Esteban Guerrieri the fastest lap. Norbert Mikulec the race winner from Guerrieri, and Mikel Ascona in 3rd. Another big result for Ascona. But Jan Erlaché doing enough there to take the title in the last race weekend.
So only 6 points split the top 3 in the end. What an incredible season that was. 6 rounds, both in Europe and in Asia, 12 races in total. Jan Erlaché is the champion. He is the king of Esports WTCR. There we go. And Jan raises the trophy on our top virtual step. Congratulations there. Thank you so much for joining us from all of the gang, Esports WTCR, and hopefully see you in the real world very soon. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.